How's it going, everybody? I'm back to do what I'm going to call an artist spotlight video. I've had this idea for a while for certain bands, certain artists. This is kind of going to be my trial run and see how this turns out. And if I enjoy it, if I like how it ends up, I'll do it for other artists, other bands, and maybe get my friend over here to make a better production out of it as opposed to using my webcam. So, the artist I'm going to focus on today is the band Against Me. They're a band that has been described as, anywhere from punk to anarcho-punk to punk folk to rock to alternative rock. Um, to me, they're just a good rock band, and I've been a fan of them for probably close to about 10 years now. A friend turned me on to them back in about 2004, 2005, so turned me on to them. I absolutely fell in love with them. I've been a fan of the band ever since. So, Against Me started out in Gainesville, Florida, about 96 or 97, basically as a solo project for Tom Gable, lead singer, guitarist of Against Me. Um, from 97 to 2000, 2001, they released a few demo tapes, EPs, Crime As Forgiven by Against Me. Against Me, I believe it was just a solo or acoustic, self-titled demo tape Against Me. Um, I can't remember. Vita V, I think, was another one in '98 they released. And when they released those, I believe it was just Tom Gable and the drummer. Then they added a bass player. I can't remember their names. I just watched a video on them the other day, and yeah, I can't. Kevin something. Can't remember the names, but so from that period, about '97 to 2000, 2001, they released a handful of EPs and demos. I don't have physical copies of those. My friend did, and he let me rip them onto my computer about 10 years ago or so. So that's what we're listening to in the background right now, a little compilation of their earlier demos and EPs. So if you can hear it, that's early Against Me playing. So after they released, I think in 2001 or 2002, they released their first full-length album on No Idea Records. This is Against Me is Reinventing Axl Rose. This is a great punk rock record. The lyrics are very politically driven lyrics, and just a great sounding debut album all around. Against Me is Reinventing Axl Rose. And I was watching the movie on them the other night, and supposedly Axl Rose caught wind of this band naming the album Reinventing Axl Rose. This came out about the same time Chinese Democracy was supposed to be released, so according to sources, Axl Rose got his hand on a copy of the album, was bashing it up against the wall, made voodoo dolls of the guys in the band, sticking pins in them and stuff, so this is a great debut album on No Idea Records. I believe this is 2002. The songs on this album I would check out would be Pints of Guinness Make You Strong, The Politics of Starving, I Still Love You, Julie, Those Anarcho-Punks Are Mysterious, Baby I'm an Anarchist. A very good punk rock record, very raw sounding, very energetic. So Against Me is Reinventing Axl Rose. When they released this album, this was basically when the band that they had for a while basically formed with Warren Oakes on drums, James Bowman on guitar, Tom Gable guitar, and I think after this album they added Andrew Seward, who became the bass player for many albums to come. So Against Me is Reinventing Axl Rose. Love this album, great album. And this is on like a pink kind of splattered vinyl. I don't think this is an original pressing, but still sounds great. So, Against Me is Reinventing Axl Rose. And after this, I think they released another EP, The Disco Before the Breakdown, which is on this CD I'm listening to at the moment. But then they signed to Fat Records and released this album. This is Against Me as the Eternal Cowboy. Still very similar sound to their first album. A little bit cleaner sounding. Still very angry punk rock record. TSR, great opening fist pumping track on the album. Stands for This Shit Rocks. It's great. It's like a minute. It's under 2 minutes long, but it's a great song. I would check that out. TSR. Sink Florida Sink was a huge hit. That's actually what they played. One of the songs they played as an encore when I went and saw them. A Brief Yet Triumphant Intermission. You Look Like I Need a Drink. Cavalier Eternal. Great record. Against Me, As the Eternal Cowboy. Still kind of a very good punk rock record. Okay, and then with that, they released, in 2009, Fat Records released this. This was the original Cowboy, basically the rough draft, the demos of As the Eternal Cowboy. Released in 2009 on Fat Records. So if you really get into Against Me, or if you're a huge fan and don't know about this, this is kind of demo rough draft versions of As the Eternal Cowboy. So the original Cowboy. And then that's when they released 2004 Spring Tour. They made this. This is Against Me, We're Never Going Home, a film by Jake Burkhart. It shows them in basically in their element. A band on tour in a white Ford van with a trailer hooked up on back, all their equipment in it, playing at smaller venues all over the country, from Florida to New York, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Wisconsin, Kentucky, Ohio, playing everywhere. And during this film was being made, while this film was being made, all these major record labels were trying to get their hands on Against Me. And it shows a lot of these executives or representatives from the big name record labels taking them out for drinks and just basically trying to sign them to their label. So didn't happen. Their next release was Searching for a Former Clarity by Against Me. They stayed on Fat Records. This would be this is close to a 10 in my opinion. Almost a perfect album. If you've never heard Against Me, this would be the one album I would start with. Searching for a Former Clarity. Black and white, and it's on black and white vinyl as well. This features Miami, Justin, Unprotected Sex with Multiple Partners, which I believe was like a dig at the record label. All the record labels trying to get their hands on them. Pretty Girls, How Low, Joy, Holy Shit. Even at our worst, we're still better than most. Problems, Don't Lose Touch. Great album. Like I said, almost a 10, and if you've never heard Against Me, this would be the album I would check out. Searching for a Former Clarity. This was in 2005. They released this. Pints of Guinness Make You Strong is what's playing right now. If you can hear it, I believe this is the acoustic version. So, and later on, once again, Fat Records released this. This is Total Clarity by Against Me. Basically like a companion album to Searching for a Former Clarity, much like the original Cowboy for As the Eternal Cowboy. Rough draft demos from the original recordings. And this also features a cover of Money Changes Everything by Cyndi Lauper. So this is good. Good album. It's interesting to hear basically how it sounded before the studio put their finishing touches on it. So if you really get into Against Me, you really love them. This is basically for I guess diehard fans or fans that want everything. So Total Clarity, Against Me. And then in 2005, I believe this was 2005. No, excuse me. 2006, I want to say. Yeah, 2006 they released this. This is Against Me, Americans Abroad, live in London. It is not a bad CD. They do a great job with their performance. Their performance is spot on. I haven't listened to this in a while, but I remember the first time I listened to it, I thought there wasn't as much energy, or like piss and vinegar and energy in this show as opposed to the performances on the video I watched. So it's a good album. The only live album they released. I do believe they released a live album as a bonus with one of their other albums, but Americans Abroad, live in London. If you want to hear them live, this would be the album. Not the greatest live performance, but not the worst live performance. So Americans Abroad by Against Me, live in London. Okay, then they finally they went away from Fat Records and they finally signed to Sire Records, a bigger label. And they released this album. I don't have this on vinyl. This is Against Me, New Wave. Original copies on vinyl go for crazy amounts of money, and I'm not ready to pay that. Make a house payment for some of the prices that this record goes for. But this is Against Me, New Wave. Another album, if you've never heard Against Me, this is more he's more accessible to the first time listener of Against Me, New Wave. This features Thrash Unreal, which was, I think, a huge hit. Stop, White People for Peace, Born on the FM Waves of Heart. Oh, yeah, Born on the FM Waves of the Heart, which I believe he does. One of the singers from Tegan and Sarah are on that song as well, and it's really a good song. A great album in its entirety. More polished. They brought Butch Vig in to produce this album, so more polished, more mature sounding band. They definitely evolved a lot at this point, matured a lot in their songwriting and performing as well. So, Against Me, New Wave. I do really like this album, and it's definitely a lot different from the earlier releases, but still a great album. I would recommend Against Me, New Wave for any first-time listeners. And then the same year, 2008, I want to say, this is also released on Sire Records, Tom Gable's solo album Heartburns. I believe Tom Gable did pretty much all the music on it himself, for the most part. Much in vain of Against Me, but it's his solo work, and produced by Billy Bush, Tom Gable, executive producer Butch Vig. Butch Vig appears on drums on one of the songs. Chuck Reagan does background vocals and harmonica on one of the songs, and Matt Skiba does the background vocals. Another band I absolutely love, Alkaline Trio, Matt Skiba. So Tom Gable, Heartburns. It's really good. I was just listening to this a little bit ago, actually. I haven't listened to this in a while, but it's Tom Gable's solo album. If you like Against Me, you would like this. So good stuff. Heartburns by Tom Gable. Let's see, where am I at? Continuing on with Sire labels, the Sire record label, they released Against Me, White Crosses. Now, this particular album is, let's see, one, two, it's a 3-record set, 3 or 4 records in here. This is White and Black Crosses, which was released on the label that Against Me went to form, Total Trouble Music. But this was originally released on Sire, originally produced by Butch Vig. Another kind of commercially successful album from Against Me. White Crosses, I Was a Teenage Anarchist, Because of the Shame, High Pressure Low, Ache With Me, Spanish Moss. I really do love this album. I think this is a fantastic album. There's really not too many weak points in this album. Definitely more polished sounding with Butch Vig on board, but it is a great album. And then Black Crosses, the accompanying album, is basically some of them are acoustic, basically like a rough draft, first takes of the songs. And the original drummer, I think, departed for this album. So some of the songs were recorded with Warren Oates, the original drummer, and some weren't. I think the final release of this album, they had a different drummer on board. So Against Me, White Crosses, and Black Crosses. If you really love Against Me, you'll get the double deluxe version. It's really heavy duty and sounds great, really. Alright, and so after they released White Crosses, I hadn't heard anything from Against Me in a while. And ironically, I got a free 3-month subscription to Rolling Stone. And I got this issue in the mail. This was April, I want to say. May 2012. And right there, The Secret Life of the Rock Star Who Became a Woman. I was kind of shocked when I read this. Being a huge fan of Against Me, this is how I found out. Secret Life of Tom Gable, the frontman of the aggro-political punk crew Against Me, has always known he was really a woman, now he's becoming one. So Tom Gable becomes, he had the transformation, he became Laura Jane Grace. And it's a really good article talking about how it was an issue he had battled with basically his entire life, the transgender issue. And they show some early pictures of Tom Gable when he was younger in the band. I was kind of surprised, but I thought good for him. If that's what he wants to do, if that's it's an issue he had battled his entire life, and he's finally brave enough to come out and say it. And by the time when you read the article about it, it says by the time you're reading this, he's already begun the transformation into Laura Jane Grace, which I thought was cool. You know, whatever makes him happy, do what you want. It's your life. Be happy. Do what makes you happy. So, um, yeah. So then, 2011, that's when they started the Total Treble Music, and then they released the Black and White Crosses album off their record label. And then I was kind of just hoping Against Me was going to stick together and they're still going to make music because I had really grown to love the band at this point. And I was supposed to see them 4 years ago, and I came down with had kidney stones, and I had to have surgery to get them removed. So I wasn't able to go. I had a stent in, wasn't able to make it. So, but this year for my birthday, my fiance got me tickets for me and her and two friends to go. And then I think it was January 2014, they released Against Me, Transgender Dysphoria Blues. This is an awesome, awesome album. Very mean and angry and just a great, great, amazing album. They added Adam Willard on drums, who drummed with Rockets from the Crypt, I think, and Angels and Airwaves. A great, really a seasoned veteran drummer. And they added a bass player. I can't remember the bass player's name. I don't know if he's a Swedish bass player of some sort, but Transgender Dysphoria Blues. I bought this at the concert, actually, and I actually got to meet Laura Jane Grace. My friends went to go get something to eat, and my fiance as well, and I wasn't hungry, so I was just hanging out by the theater, and I saw Laura Jane Grace walking out the back, so I waved to her and approached her as kindly as I could and asked for a picture and told her how much, I respect her and her decision to do what she really wanted to do, and how she really is an inspiration to, I'm sure, thousands and thousands of people. And shook her hand, got a picture with her. It was a really, really cool moment. It's one of those surreal moments when you meet a rock star that you really adore. So, Against Me, Transgender Dysphoria Blues, great, great album. And I believe it's a concept album based off like a transgender, featuring the songs Transgender Dysphoria Blues, True Trans Soul Rebel, Unconditional Love, Drinking with the Jocks, Osama Bin Laden as the Crucified Christ, Fuck My Life, 666, Dead Friends, Dead Friend, Two Coffins, Paralytic States, and Black Me Out. They are a great live band. There's like $18 for the tickets. They put on a hell of a show. Great, great show. Great live band. Amazing performance. And they just rocked the fucking house out. This was an awesome, awesome show. Awesome album. Highly recommended album. I'll have to go back and see what other albums were released in 2014 that I was really fond of, but this is definitely high up on the list. And this was produced by Laura Jane Grace. So, yeah. Against Me, Transgender Dysphoria Blues. So that's it. That was kind of my little in-depth look at the band Against Me. If you've never heard them, go check them out. If you like punk rock music or just good rock music, it'd be right up your alley. If you enjoyed what you heard in the background, check them out. So that's it, everybody. This is my first shot at it. Hopefully it turns out, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. So comments, feedback, questions, it's all welcome and appreciated. So everyone, if I don't see you, have a happy and safe holiday season. Be careful out there if you're doing any traveling. Be good to yourselves. Be well. Take care, and thanks for tuning in. And as always, we'll talk soon.